I'm just waiting for Steve to enter the room. He is going to present Unlock More Than 1 Billion Potential New Users. He will talk for about 20 minutes. We will offer some links as well. And we will obviously offer a Q&A. So Steve, are you there?
Hello,
Hello.
I am here.
Fantastic. Pleasure to have you on. You've got the best shift of the lot. You've got the one everybody's been waiting for before lunch. I'm going to step out now, and then I will come back in about 20 minutes, and we'll run through the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very much. Cheers.
Let me start sharing my screen. And there you go. Can you see my unlock over 1 billion potential new users screen? Are we good to go? I trust we are. All right. Thank you everybody for being here. My name is Steve Taylor. I'm the product manager for the Unity distribution portal. And today I'm going to talk about how you can unlock over 1 billion potential new users. So the question that I ask developers all the time is, why isn't your game on every app store in the world? And the answer I usually get is, okay, what stores, other than the incumbents, obviously? And here's a few facts about alternative app stores, is that they represent, by 2023, 1.7 billion mobile gamers. And that's a market that is going to represent upwards of $5 billion outside of China alone. And these channels are right now growing faster than Google Play Store. I'm going to talk about the Unity distribution portal and how it can help you reach over 1 billion gamers that are connected to these stores. But let's talk about the challenges of alternative distribution. Submitting to these stores is really a tedious process. First off, there's just so many stores out there. Which ones are there? You need to discover them. You need to establish a relationship with them. You need to create builds specifically for them. You need to implement their SDKs. Right? You need to submit your builds to these app stores, and then your game is live on these stores. They start generating revenue. They start generating activity. You have to track that performance as well on each of these store systems. And this is a process you will repeat for every game update. So yes, it is a tedious process. And it makes a landscape look like this, right? If I plot X awareness, Y effort, and the size of the bubble is the revenue opportunity, those alternative stores really are just scattered there to the left, and they represent different level of effort, and they often represent an uncertain ROI, which is why a lot of you are usually saying, I would love the extra money. I'm just not sure what ROI there is for me. So no, I'm going to tell you that story in a different way. Let's start with your game. You have a game, and there's 4 stores out there. There's more actually, but let's just take the example of 4 stores. What would you have to do? You have to implement the Blue SDK in your game, create a Blue build, gather all the metadata, images, descriptions according to the store's requirements before you can put a submission together and submit that to the store via its developer console, for instance. Right? Your game is live on the Blue Store, starts generating revenue on the Blue Store, and that's activity that you will actually track over the systems that they provide. And there's a Yellow Store, so you have another SDK and another build and another set of metadata, and likewise another submission process, and another reporting system. And you get the drift, right? For the Red Store, you get another SDK, another build, another set of metadata, another submission process, etc. Right? So you get the drift. Your life can quickly become like this. So many stores, just so many builds, so many SDKs, so many different metadata requirements, dev consoles, reporting systems. So let's take a step back. What does ideal look like? Ideal would look like this. You only have a single SDK to implement, so that you only need to create and manage a single build. you only need to gather a single set of metadata, and you only need to use a single console to upload it to the stores. And your reporting data is centralized in a single location. So that's the vision that we built the Unity distribution around. And how does it work? Well, we try to stay true to this model, a single SDK that allows you to manage a single build, a single set of metadata that you then decide on the UDP console, which are the stores you want to distribute to. And what UDP will do is that it will take your single build and it will repack it into store-specific builds. It will directly patch in the IAP SDK of each of the stores. It will also determine which is the metadata that each store needs to receive. And then through a single submission process, it will actually allow you to get your game on these stores. Right. That makes the landscape look like this, same chart as before, but now all of those alternative stores that were previously scattered to the left, now regrouped in a single low-hanging opportunity that makes it a lot more worthwhile to address. So now I'm going to switch gears a bit and show you a demo of how it actually works. For the benefit of time, I'm going to run a video that we have made that shows the entire developer journey. Here we go.
The Unity distribution portal enables you to distribute your games to multiple Android app stores through a single hub and using a single build, allowing you to focus more time on creating your game and making the process of distributing your game much easier. The Unity distribution portal, or UDP, currently supports games built for Android devices. It is supported on Unity versions from 5.6.1. However, Unity versions 2018.4 and above are recommended. UDP is free for developers and can be downloaded for use in your project using the package manager in Unity. It's also available via the Unity Asset Store. Once the Unity distribution portal package is installed into your Unity project, you can access and set it up by choosing Window, Unity Distribution Portal, Settings. To work with UDP, your project will need to be using a Unity project ID. If your project doesn't already have an ID assigned, you will be prompted to create one. Once you have a designated Unity project ID, you're ready to set up the UDP client. To get started using the distribution portal, you'll need to set your project up in the Unity Distribution Portal console. Head to the console by visiting distribute.dashboard.unity.com and log in with your Unity ID. UDP is free to use for any individual or organization with a Unity account. Once logged in, simply press the Create New Game button to add a new game project to your console. Then fill out the information about your game on the Game Info tab, including any promotional assets you'd like to use on the store page. If you've already got the project set up on the Google Play Store and would like to reuse the information from there, you can choose the Import from Google Play button to copy over the metadata of your game from the Google Play Store into your UDP console project. Simply copy the Google Play Store link into the field, and the console will autofill the fields based on the metadata from the Play Store page. Then add any remaining text or assets into your game's profile that are needed. The in-app purchases section allows you to update the prices of IAPs for your game and set the prices for additional currencies. You can add and manage individual items, or you can import multiple IAPs at once using the Import Catalog button. We can also import IAPs using a CSV file in the Google Play format. Here you can download the template CSV file using the Download Template link. Fill in your IAPs locally and upload the file to add all of your in-app purchases at once. When you're done setting up your project, hit Save. Scroll down to the integration information and copy the client ID. Back in the Unity editor, in the UDP settings, paste your client ID and continue. Your project is now set up and its ID is linked with the Unity distribution portal. We can use the pull button to get data such as our in-app purchase entries from the console. As you can see, The IAP that we entered earlier is now visible inside the editor. We can also create new entries in our settings here. And use the push button to synchronize them with the console. Some implementation work is going to be required in your game code, mainly using UDP methods to manage your in-app purchases. The UDP documentation will guide you through these steps, and you can find a link to it below. When you're done setting up your project and you're ready to deploy your game to stores, build your project in Unity. It's worth keeping in mind that before deploying, you should test the UDP build in the sandbox environment so you can be sure your IAPs work well before committing your game to the stores. When you're done building, upload your APK files in the binary section of the console and create your package description. Notice how changes to our in-app purchases have been synced from the editor. We can manage the currencies of our in-app purchases one at a time, or use the convert button to automatically set global currency prices on our in-app purchases. We can use the Manage Languages dropdown to add additional language support to the store metadata for our game. Let's add the French, Italian, and German languages by selecting them from the list. We can fill out the copy ourselves for each of our languages we wish to support. Or if we already have a Google Play Store link, we can import the copy directly from the Google Play Store using the same buttons as before and the localized URL. When we're done with our game information and ready to release our game, choose Save and then choose Release. We'll need to create some information about this release, so enter a revision tag and some release notes, then choose Release. You'll then be prompted with the app stores available for your release. With UDP, it's completely up to you which stores you want to distribute to. Simply select from the available stores in the list. You'll need to sign up to each store and link it with your UDP account in order to register your game. When you've registered with the stores you'd like to use, you can also choose the countries you'd like to deploy your game to on each store. When you're happy with your store setup, choose the Repack Game and Submit to Store option from the dropdown and choose Publish. Repacking takes your UDP build and clones it for each store you're submitting to. It will remove the sandbox component of the package and replace it automatically with the store-specific component. This allows you to submit your game to a store without needing to include a number of unnecessary SDKs. The Unity distribution portal automatically creates a new build each time and only packages it with its required SDKs for the store you're submitting it to. After repacking, you may then be presented with a pre-submission dialog to help with any issues or changes that need to be made for successful submission to a store. Once any changes have been made and your submission is ready, you'll be prompted to continue. You'll then be taken to the status page as UDP begins repacking and submitting your game. Congratulations, your game should now be submitted to multiple stores. To see how your game has been performing on all of your stores, you can use the Reporting tab in the console. You can use the dropdown to filter the report across all stores or an individual storefront. This page gives you information such as monthly active users, retention rate, installs, gross revenue, and more. The Partner Stores tab shows an overview of all the stores available to submit to, with more coming soon. To learn more about each of the stores you can distribute with through UDP, choose the Read More link. As you can see, the Unity distribution portal makes it fast and easy to distribute your game across multiple stores simultaneously.
All right. So that was a UDP in less than 7 minutes. So I'm just going to summarize very quickly. What did we see? That UDP, with UDP, you do not need to worry about the store-specific SDKs. You only need to implement a single SDK. You only have to care about a single build. And you will do your submission through a single hub. Yet you retain full control over your distribution, and it gives you access to exciting new channels. So in summary, and especially if we look at indie developers, small size studios, it really only takes one person, one build, one platform to reach 1 billion users. Let's have a quick look at the stores that are available on UDP. There is Samsung. Samsung Galaxy Store is preloaded on all the Galaxy smartphones and tablets. It represents 400 million MAUs. There is HUAWEI App Gallery, which is also preloaded on all Huawei and Honor smartphones, represent 150 million MAUs. These are the other ones. Xiaomi, the App Store also preloaded on all the Xiaomi smartphones. There is one store, which is a South Korean store, preloaded on all the Android smartphones that are sold in Korea. Let me jump to TPay Mobile, which distributes content through mobile carriers in the Middle East and Africa. App2T, which is not really a store, but more a publishing channel where you can submit your game to and have it published in China. And then there's a global app store such as Up2Down, QApp, ShareIt, that actually together represent north of 200 million MAUs. UDP has been publicly launched last month after a year in public preview. And these are the numbers we're already getting. Over 400 of you using it, close to 600 games submitted. And among the developers who use UDP, Azur Games has been one of the early adopters, and they've used it to get their game Jurassic Monster World onto new app stores. And within 2 weeks of work, they had the game that was submitted and featured on the Samsung Galaxy Store and HUAWEI App Gallery, and generating significant traction in new markets for them. So the purpose of UDP is really to address the complexities that are typically associated to game distribution. So it's really about simplifying the work. And we're quite happy to see that this is working out for some of you already. Last but not least, and this was mentioned in the earlier video, yes, UDP is entirely free for developers. You need to have a Unity account, but regardless of whether you are a pro user, a plus user, a personal edition user even, it's entirely free. And let me take the example of the Samsung Galaxy Store. Typical revenue share terms is 70-30. Well, if you submit your game through UDP, you still have access to the same 70%. So it is entirely free. You will get the revenue from the App Store that you would otherwise get directly. You just get the convenience of the platform. So it's publicly released. Go to unity.com/UDP to have more information, to get access also to all the get started material and the other information that we have. The App Store is really eager to get more content on board. They are putting a lot of promotion and marketing effort behind them. So the time to get your game to these alternative stores is now. Thank you very much. And Stuart,
thank you,
I'm happy to take questions now.
Thank you, Steve. That was excellent. And where I'm sitting looks pretty compelling, I must admit. So when did you launch this, and how do you feel the reaction has been so far?
Well, UDP was launched in public preview last year, at GDC last year. And we've taken all the time to really improve it and getting to a stage where we felt it was really ready to launch publicly. And it's been launched last month in August, and the numbers I was showing, over 400 developers, close to 600 games. These are the numbers that have accelerated over the course of Q2 this year. So the reaction so far is pretty positive.
Okay, the game has to be developed in Unity, presumably, in order to apply?
Right now it does, yes, but the plans are to expand to more platforms. But first we want to get our formula right for Unity games. So yes, the Unity package that you have to implement is for Unity games. And
it's free, and you're reaching all these other stores, and you're suggesting that it's much easier, and it certainly looked easier. So just to flip the argument around again slightly, why would I not use UDP if my game is in Unity, if I want to reach those stores? If somebody, you must have targets of companies you want to work with, and at the moment they're still targets. What would be the step that a developer has to get over in order to engage with you guys?
There is very little effort needed. You just need to make a little bit of time, in your development team to implement the UDP SDK, and we've really worked hard to make that implementation as simple as and easy as possible. So you need to create that UDP build, that Android build that you can then put through the UDP process, and that is not a process that is going to require you a lot of game. And it's a process that you can do towards the end of your development cycle. When your game is ready, when your IAP is already plugged in, this is the right time to go and implement UDP. So it is, and this is why we built it, because we want it to be low effort that gives you access to a vast audience.
And the appeal that you're suggesting, it applies equally to the smallest of indies as well as the big corporates. So the big corporates coming across as well. I think I saw one in there earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. We're building it for all developers. Unity, our users comes from all backgrounds, and there's the AAA studios, and there's also the one-man outfit. So we cater to everyone. We've really built UDP also for the indie developers to be able to get that reach when they would otherwise not be able to, because they don't have the manpower, they don't have the bandwidth. So yes, it was designed to, you remember my slide, I showed that it only takes a person to actually reach that billion users. So we've built it with that in mind. We are also mindful of the more sophisticated ask of the larger studios. So we also build that in, but it is essentially a self-serve platform so that you don't have to scale up your studio, your operations, your development costs to be able to address and access those opportunities.
Okay, I've got a few questions here. Thank you to our viewers for participating. Got a question here from Tanvir Ahmed. Are the ad networks and mediation like max/level, do they work with the UDP? Sorry if I'm reading that incorrectly. What is the ARP, DAU, ad and AIP compared to Google Play currently? So hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm not the most technical.
Yeah, it does. So that's something that we're still actively looking into. In general, the ad network work, but depending on the stores, supply demand may differ. So I don't have actually a very definite answer there. I don't have the numbers where I can say this is what you can expect in terms of ad returns in this and this channel. So that's one of the things that we're actively looking into to make sure that for developers who have mixed monetization in their game, which is the case many of you out there, that you can maximize whether it is in-app payment or whether it is ad revenue. But as for exact numbers over which ad networks / mediation layers in which channels, this is a data that we're still building out.
Okay. Next question from Sai Praneeth Ganupti. Are you going to add other stores such as Aptoid, etc.? Perhaps you could tell us, particularly with regards to that store, but also how many more stores do you think you can add, and what is your timeline for adding them on?
We have a few more stores coming. I showed 9 stores, and there's another 2 that will be coming shortly. We will announce them in due time. We really want to address as many of the third-party Android stores as possible. But we're not in a position to actually drop names or announce any one of them at this point of time. But what we want is this to be a single hub to all the alternate Android stores.
Do you have a target for the number of stores you want to hit for when you feel that you've got a sort of the reach that you require?
We already feel we have a significant reach, because with these 9 stores and the other 2 that are coming, we'll be well over the 1 billion user mark. We can always add more, indeed, and we will try to add them whenever they are relevant to our users and they make sense in terms of distribution channels. They will be added. But right now, I would say yes, another 2 more stores coming real soon, and the others I cannot.
That's great. I'm sure you'll be telling PocketGamer.biz as soon as you can announce them.
Of course.
From an anonymous attendee, don't we need to have a separate set of app IDs for all SDKs for each store?
A different set of app IDs for?
For all SDKs for each store. So,
all right. So the way it works is that these stores are integrated with UDP. So we do a lot of background work with the stores so that you don't have to actually worry about getting all these settings, retrieving them, copy pasting them. So that integration we do allows you ultimately to just register your game at the click of a button and then begin the repack and submit process. Those parameters are then retrieved via APIs thanks to the integration we do with the stores.
Okay, and around that, aren't there issues with SDKs like AdMob and others? How do you work around that? Should we make separate APK for all alternative stores?
Well, the whole idea of UDP is to actually not make separate builds for each store. But that said, there are some things to look into as you build sophistication into your build and you include third-party services. If you want to make sure that they work properly, you sometimes need to do some additional configuration tweaking on the third-party console sites, for instance, to link all your different UDP store-specific builds to your main service so that they can play well together. So these are, we are right now in the process of mapping out for users how the various third-party services work and what needs to be done to make them work just fine. So in short, yes, sometimes you need to make some adjustments, but what we always privilege is the route where you do not need to make store-specific builds. You just need to create a single build, push it through the UDP pipeline, submit it to the stores, and then yes, on the side, you sometimes need to make sure on some services that these services are configured to support the new builds that are created and submitted to the stores.
Thanks, Steve. That's a really good suggestion to lots of companies about how they can think about reaching stores a different way, an easier way. Everybody wants to do things using less resource. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of people following up. And thank you very much for joining us, and your presentation will be circulated to our viewers. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.